Are you paying attention? Is everybody in? Is everybody in? The ceremony is about to begin. The entertainment for this evening is not new. You've seen this entertainment through and through. You have seen your birth, your life, your death. You may recall all the rest. Did you have a good world when you died? Enough to base a movie on? Jim Morrison, An American Prayer. In the act of underlining through understanding media in my research, I find that I grow quite more exhausted with each turn of the page. The typography demands my participation and analysis without having any intention of changing its position. The immovable text is immortalized, fossilized, and I cannot touch it. It resists my participation because it is already much hotter than me. The excess heat produces a sweat and steam that turns my brain to mush. I can't help but set down the pen and take a moment to write down my thoughts, or just look up and gaze at the world, which I have been ignoring but never left. Wake up! McLuhanisms. Marshall McLuhan was a professor at the University of Toronto and director of the Centre for Culture and Technology, known fondly by enthusiasts of his work as a whimsical sociologist. Marshall McLuhan's book Understanding Media introduced the term media as well as a number of other precepts, among them Global Village and Age of Information, that since have become commonplace. No one really understood McLuhan at first. Like the mediums he studied, he was ahead of his time.
Marshall McLuhan is a professor of English at the University of Toronto and director of its Center for Culture and Technology. He's the author of several books and hundreds of articles whose sales increase daily and spreads. Suddenly, everybody, press, industry, corporations, and the new youth, have discovered him, and he has become a storm center of extreme controversy.
The phrase, "the medium is the message," or "the medium is the massage," is a play on words that was only semi-intentional.
All media, or technologies, work us over completely. They are so permeating throughout in their personal, political, psychological, moral, ethical, and social consequences that they leave no part of us untouched.
The original concept contained the word message as opposed to massage, but McLuhan considered the error a happy accident. The form of a medium embeds itself into the message, and the medium influences how the message is perceived.
The medium does things to people, and they're always completely unaware of this. They don't really notice the new medium that is roughing them up. They think of the old medium because the old medium is always the content of the new medium, as movies tend to be the content of TV, and as books used to be the content, novels used to be the content of movies. And so every time a new medium arrives, the old medium is the content, and it is highly observable, highly noticeable. But the real roughing up and massaging is done by the new medium, and it is ignored.
McLuhan claims that the medium massages us by shaping and molding the social context. In the work he did over his life, his main thesis was that the personal and social consequences of any medium, that is, any extension of ourselves, result from the new scale that is introduced into our affairs by each extension of ourselves or by any new technology. The introduction of a new medium, from written word to electricity, changes how a society experiences older forms.
And it is an evaluation made by the old visual types looking in the rearview mirror as usual of something that is threatening the old values and reversing the old values.
As humans, it is only possible to live in the present moment. So to understand, we must look backwards. Content of any medium is always another medium, such as the content of writing being speech. All content is secondary in its messaging or massaging to the medium itself. McLuhan reminds us that when we talk about programs on TV, we're not talking about TV at all. To take this further, consider each medium as an extension of the body. Clothing is an extension of our skin, the wheel of our feet, and radio, our ears. These extensions expose our bodies to pressure, stress, and discomfort, which are then protected by the central nervous system where pain is processed. The brain has two strategies for equilibrium. Pleasure is a counter-irritant. It adds something to an experience to distract from the effect of a stimulus. Comfort is the removal of irritants altogether. Media is all-encompassing. Once a form is integrated, though, it suddenly loses its meaning. In the literate West, we are seeing a dissonance form between the Gutenberg galaxy, or the typographic world, and the age of information. The age of anxiety continues.
I come from a 19th century country, Canada, and this gives me a great advantage in looking at the 20th century.
The 20th century is the age of electric technology. It's the most dominant tool of our time. And reevaluate every thought and every institution you formerly took for granted.
The main difference between the literate world of the 20th century and the information age is the way in which new mediums are absorbed. As McLuhan puts it, after 3,000 years of explosion by means of fragmentary and mechanical technologies, the Western world is imploding.
The medium of our time, electric technology, everything from the light bulb to the telephone to the computer to jets to nuclear energy, is changing everything. We are in the middle of a tremendous clash between the old and the new.
The instantaneous nature of electricity combines all previous mediums, which were once specialized and separated, and as a result, there is a staggering feeling of being thrust into a liquid world. This implicit shift, though impossible to ignore, is very difficult to understand as old systems are still embedded into the content of new mediums like the internet, social media, and AI.
Literate culture is visual and detached. It creates the civilized man, the detribalized man, the man who is not involved. And the effect of the electric revolution is to create once more an involvement that is total.
Written word, numerical systems, and the fragmentation of specialization remain the content, but are in no way the message of these mediums. Humankind is meant to interact with one another on the scale of a village. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar proposed the theory that humans have a cognitive limit on the number of stable social relationships they can maintain. Beyond 150 people, maintaining group cohesion requires formal rules, laws, and social structures to organize and manage relationships. With technology, this number can grow to a vast degree, but with scale comes consequences. Connections become more shallow, more transactional, and less meaningful. Our central nervous system, or our software, has outpaced our biological hardware. Digital nomads have now emerged to cosplay in this cosmic rhythm as a way to navigate the new environment. The rest of us struggle to form bonds on this level due to a lack of understanding of the hybrid world in which we must survive. We live under the stress of the mediums of time, money, and light, despite their obsolescence. Our physical spaces have turned inhabitable. The city center is a concrete jungle on a grand scale that turns the individual into a weed growing between sidewalk cracks. The suburbs are a series of roads made for the explosive medium of the automobile, an invention that still contains the content of the old medium of the horse and buggy. In the electronic age, all humans are as involved as any artist of the past. Total encompassment of media turns the banker, the CEO, the barista, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, and the teacher into the painter and poet. We all participate in electronic media as it extends our central nervous systems, and the result is a global village network where all thoughts and synapses are displayed on the digital stage. If the 19th century was the age of the editorial chair, ours is the century of the psychiatric's couch. ChatGPT has become the new coach, therapist, and teacher.
The electric age is changing you. It is changing your family. It is changing your neighborhood. It's changing your education. It's changing your job. When are you going to do? It's changing your government. It's changing your relationship to others. These little circuits are making our world go. The electric age is having a profound effect on us. We are in a period of fantastic change that's coming about at fantastic speed. Your life is changing dramatically, and you are numb to it.
A portal, which I call the mid-century threshold, opened when electric light created an open concept world of space and time, abandoning the structures of these two-dimensional mediums for the three-dimensional, immersive, all-inclusive age of anxiety. Dun-dun-dun.
Time, in a sense, has ceased, and space has vanished. Like primitives, we now live in a global village of our own making, a simultaneous happening.
Night and day blend together, and all of the old explosive mediums feel increasingly hostile in their insistence in the imploding world. Before, the galaxy was ruled by the explosive printed word, the architect of nationalism. The printed word draws the lines around the borders of nations. It distincts pieces of a whole from one another mechanically. With Gutenberg, we recreated the Tower of Babel. In his chapter on radio, which he calls the tribal drum, McLuhan emphasizes that the universal ignoring of the psychic action of technology bespeaks some inherent function, some essential numbing of consciousness such as occurs under stress and shock conditions. We have ignored the power of the media all this time.
All media are extensions of some human faculty, mental or physical. The wheel is an extension of the foot. The book is an extension of the eye. Clothing is an extension of the skin. Electric circuitry is an extension of the central nervous system.
Just as we now try to control atom bomb fallout, McLuhan said in 1964, so we will one day try to control media fallout. Education will become recognized as civil defense against media fallout. Where is this recognition? McLuhan warned us back then that if education is to continue in their present patterns of fragmented unrelation, our school curricula will ensure a citizenry unable to understand the cybernated world in which they live. Children have been educating themselves through the media since television. Television is what McLuhan calls a cool medium. Think of these as ingredient households. In the refrigerator, nothing is prepared. You must cook everything yourself from scratch. You choose which ingredients to use, just as our eyes select which pixels to absorb while watching television. In contrast, film is a hot medium. The entirety of a movie is pre-packaged, ready to eat. More pixels are absorbed and more information, but it is implicit. There is no involvement in the form of a hot medium.
In the 19th century, the knowledge inside the schoolroom was higher than the knowledge outside. Today it is reversed. The child knows that in going to school he is, in a sense, interrupting his education.
In the instantaneous world of electric media, we can immediately absorb any information we wish. Most of us choose to use this power to be entertained, to satisfy an urge, or to curate a sense of individuality. We can stream any film or song at the tap of a screen. We can have food delivered at the tap of a screen or absorb hedonistic primal material with a quick search on the internet. We can post a photo, a mirrored image, of our self on social media and edit its appearance to fit the persona we wish to craft. Our amygdalas are tuned the way our hunter-gatherer ancestors were. Fight, flight, and freeze occupy our brain's electric system despite our sedentary lifestyle. We no longer chase mammoths or run from predators, but we do chase approval from others and run from anything that could damage our fragile ego narrative. Our phones are not only an extension of our hands, but of all of our senses combined.
The instantaneous world of electric informational media involves all of us, all at once.
It is attached to our very being at all times, ingrained into every organ. Space no longer ends with our body. We are a continuation of it. Our bodies no longer serve the same purpose that led to human domination of the earth. Until we can learn how to situate our bodies into the electronic environment, our external and internal realities will continue their dissonance and elevate the stress of the visual culture. No, life is not lived backwards. But if we follow the thread of our evolution, all signs point to the inevitable obsolescence of the body.
The dangers are total. The chances of your understanding anything going on in your own time are very small, except through the means or media provided by artists. Artists are people who enjoy living in the present.
Since the time of the Renaissance, we have been contained by a visual monopoly. Art was rigid and kept us out of the frame. Today, art is anything you can get away with.
Changing it up because this is a silly fun section, sort of, kind of. This is a very serious video. And I'm breaking my script right now because I just really want to add to whoever is watching. Also, thanks for watching. You're cool. But like, this is a crazy topic, and I really hope that what you take away from it, you know, whether it's a negative or a positive feeling, you know, just take that and run with it. I really think, like, all I want to do is have a discussion. All I want to do is start the conversation, or maybe approach the conversation a different way. I was really inspired by McLuhan's work over his career, which was sadly ended much too early. And, you know, I just kind of wanted to pick up where he left off. And also, isn't this shirt absolutely amazing? It's my dad's. He's probably the most, what's the opposite of artificial? Probably the most naturally intelligent. So, it's kind of funny. But anyways, let's get into this section. Anyone who knows me personally knows how much I love memes.
And it helps to bring to mind that every joke really reveals a grievance. Humor comes out of a world of unhappy, bitter grievances. Hence, many of the jokes in our society, most of the jokes in our society, the good ones, come from ethnic groups, various minorities who have some sort of gripe.
As the information age blurs the lines between art, culture, and business, where do we turn for an understanding of our environment? Art and humor, no matter how crude or seemingly insignificant, are essential for understanding the impact of new mediums. The 1960s was a time of intense political and social unrest. As a result, the humor of the era was dark, boundary-pushing, and taboo-breaking. Humor in the 1960s was both a mirror and a catalyst for social change. Absurdity and surrealism became more common, reflecting the shift from the cookie-cutter first half of the 20th century and paving the path for the rest of the decades to come. Pop art, a la Andy Warhol, took this meta-commentary a step further, challenging the baroque.
Pull the storyline off any situation and you get a much higher level of creative participation on the part of the reader or the audience. And the Fellini 8.5 is a world where the audience has to work very hard, same as abstract art. Same as Picasso. Picasso has a picture of man sitting in chair. There's no man, there's no chair. What Picasso was painting was what it feels like for a man to be sitting in a chair.
The 70s and 80s saw a rise in satirical comedy as seen in Saturday Night Live, National Lampoon, the film Airplane, and John Hughes films. A notable and often overlooked piece of media from the 80s, Max Headroom, is notable in the context of this study of McLuhan's work in AI. The character's computer-generated, bizarre format is reminiscent of the way artificial intelligence used to be viewed. Integral to Max Headroom's legacy was the inevitable path that pop culture icons take, a leap from television show to advertisements. The failed New Coke campaign utilized the Max Headroom platform to appeal to its target market. But once it was determined that New Coke was a disaster, Max Headroom, shortly after, ended its run on television. The irony is uncanny. The satirical, political nature of the character gave in to the very structure it was criticizing, which led to its own demise. The internet completely changed humor and its format, democratizing comedy. Suddenly, a new form of humor distinct from stand-up arose through meme culture. Since then, memes have become an integral form of populist commentary. Throughout the early 2000s and 2010s, memes were centered around self-deprecation, and they were fragmented by communities and platforms. Interestingly, the term meme was coined by evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins in his 1976 book, The Selfish Gene. Essentially, this Dawkins guy proposed that ideas and cultural traits could replicate and evolve in a similar way to genes in biological evolution. He suggested that selfish replication, similar to how genes are selfish in their drive to be copied, could also model human culture. Memes are a populist medium meant to be spread and shared. Inside jokes for the world. In the 2020s, we are here, after the COVID-19 pandemic and amidst a time quite like the 60s in its socio-political state, memes have been around for about 40 years. They are completely integrated into the cultural zeitgeist and provide a platform for people to criticize those in power, influence and interact with their peers, and grow personal brands. Capitalism. Memes as a medium are hot in format, but cold when interacting with them. They spread quickly, explosively, and then die out just as quickly as they are spread. Absurdist memes, such as Italian brain rot, reflect the absurdist, surrealist nature of comedy and memes from this time period. Whenever mankind reaches an inflection point, a paradigm shift, a pendulum swing in the cultural framework, art and humor breaks down to its abstract building blocks. This reflects the subconscious of the central nervous system scratching to be released and explored, which often coincides with the rise in dark humor and cultural divide.
When my own way of testing the sorts of effects that any new form is likely to have on us is to keep a sharp lookout on changing styles in the arts. The artist is always a jump ahead of technology and is engaged really in giving you images of what sort of effects it's likely to have upon you later on.
Narrative structure is broken in the individual's path, the communal model, and in the cultural fabric. It only takes a quick scroll on any social media platform to see this. Humor, created by the people, is spread, circulated, adopted by advertisers, and worn out, sometimes in a matter of months. Voices are being left behind, and what was once clear in our psyches has become a fever dream of abstraction.
When you live in an information age, culture becomes big business, education becomes big business, and the cultural explosion or the information explosion becomes itself culture. It knocks down all the walls between culture and business.
Back to the threshold. All mediums in the electronic age of information and anxiety, a portal which opened in the 1960s with the merging of light clock, print money, natural resources, and the television, seem to translate knowledge. From the alphabet, literate society has been led to numeric systems, and now those systems define the mediums of today. College students, business people, and young 20-somethings talk to ChatGPT, and those words are first translated to numbers of probability before being translated again into the written word, all in an instant. Like the electronic light unfolding space and time by blending day and night, the speed to which information is transmitted has unfolded the virtual space and time into a plane of infinite possibilities.
Many of the things I talk about I find very irritating. That's what leads me to investigate them. You look around for a hair of the dog that bit you. I look into many of the new forms simply because I find them very exasperating and irritating and troublesome to peace of mind and so on. And on the other hand, I've discovered, to my amazement, that if you take some violent and irritating process, say like radio or TV, and start looking at how it works, what it's doing to you, and why it's doing it to you, you can get very enthralled, very excited.
No longer must we search on a browser, let alone find a book in a library, to know everything in an instant. The progression of speed of human mediums over time causes distress until the speed is faster than light. It is then that the organic world starts and ends in a purely digital environment. What will be next for money, time, the written word, science, myth, and religion? Work. The tribal man does not work. He is a whole man in his existence. His daily activities are all connected. We are defragmenting work, art, and technology now that anyone can learn anything with the right questions. We have the opportunity to take this time of misery and make art out of it while simultaneously participating in the outdated systems of the literate world.
How can our youth look forward to a specialized job when the computer world of automation may eliminate that job?
We are returning to the tribal stage in the abstract environment of electricity. We have been resisting this shift for 85 years because it is only possible to understand backwards unless you are an artist. So, naturally, we don't acknowledge this inevitable progression. People are frittering away on AI, creating ghostly mimics of human art. This is similar to the monopoly of networks in the advent of television. The corporation, the crowd, wishes to expand and overtake its pattern, and it imposes itself on the work of the artist. The news of today is not news. It contains no truth. Messages are not being sent and received through the mediums without being sent through the murky, stale waters of our outdated system. It is up to artists, as in times of old, to explore the untouched jungle of the intangible future.
When many of these kinds of developments begin to occur in many forms at once, at very high speeds, then it becomes easy to perceive the pattern.
Settle down, class. What we call artificial intelligence is not an imitation of human cognition as we might interpret the term. It is actually generative probability, which uses an input of words, images, or other forms of information and produces a completed outcome on its own using what the system calculates will be next. It processes patterns and harnesses the information bank of human data stored online to create an imitation of this media. As a medium, AI is the ultimate form of electronic technology. It is a hybrid of the internet, written word, mathematical probability, and automation. Like any medium, AI in its infancy poses a threat to the social order in its speeding up and scaling of information and form. Some fear the implications of AI, and some embrace it wholly as the next best form of technology on the way to the next revolutionary speeding up of technology. To consider AI objectively and to study it the way McLuhan would, we must consider that AI is neither a hot nor cold medium, it is both. This is why it is so controversial. As a hot medium, AI produces work to be absorbed in its form. AI-generated art, photos, and music are packaged and delivered, sent down the stream of the digital information. As the medium, not the content, is the message. The visually adept resident immediately recognizes artificially generated art as foreign. Unfortunately, this means that the literate generation, who grew up without the immersive cold medium of the internet, views AI-generated work as they would anything made by a human. The most dangerous part of AI as a medium is its potential to harm through deception. AI-generated likeness can be used for misinformation, defamation, fraud, and other harmful purposes. Even when synthetic content is labeled as fake, the damage, especially in cases of explicit or reputationally damaging material, may persist. AI's ability to replicate and commodify likeness is reshaping media, entertainment, and personal identity. While it offers new opportunities for monetization and creativity, it also exposes individuals to unprecedented risks of exploitation, misrepresentation, and loss of control over their own image and voice. The legal and ethical frameworks needed to address these challenges are still catching up to the technology.
How much do you make? You are fast losing your private identity. Information is being collected about you, and it's being recorded in a corporate memory, making up one big computerized gossip column that is unforgiving, unforgetful. And so it goes, every minute of every day. You're the mass man, the collective store of all that ever happened.
As a medium with the power to massage and mold us to a cultural framework, AI is highly influential. At its best, AI is an incredibly useful tool for research, creating a starting point, speeding up the outlining process, and collecting data. It is also at this point integrated into nearly every aspect of our technology. It massages us through the algorithms on our streaming services and social media feeds. It boosts profits for content creators through the use of predictive analytics, and it helps with accuracy and accessibility when searching the vast ocean of the internet. To know that a transformation through new mediums invokes the totality of being in heart and body is wisdom. To transcend the body through the new medium is evolution. If we are afraid of change, it is because we don't understand it. AI and the human mind work in similar ways by using stored information to create a plausible outcome, but there are a plethora of things that only the human mind can do. First of all, there is the psychological experience of the ego, which a computer cannot comprehend since it is not a living being. This means that AI will never be able to replicate survival tactics such as emotional responses to a conscious experience of the world. If I were to plug in a prompt for a story, it would give me everything I need, but there would be something missing that's key. The conflict. The emotional depth required for a great narrative is within the psychological wants and needs the main character is trying to fulfill, and the conflict between the two, as well with any outside force, such as the antagonist, their circumstances, or their own experiences. AI cannot generate the probability of the lengths a certain person will go for their love, anger, or fear. Only humans with their unique perceptions of the world can tell stories that will resonate with other humans. People in power only care about power and keeping it. They do not take interest in telling a great story because they are only concerned with the massaging effects of their mediums. They are into selling, not telling. Nothing technology can produce will ever be able to replace the passion an artist pours into their craft. Nothing. There can be no conflict without the narrative idea of the self. Therefore, AI can have no psychological conflict. The fight is in updating education to fit the immersive landscape of information. The fight is in our strength as humans to evolve. The fight is to catch up with our godlike technology. The fight is in learning how to swim, to return to the sea, and to cope with our bodies as they increasingly become obsolete. This is the fight. And this is why we are so afraid. The world has completely changed and we have not developed to change with it. Technology has officially outmoded our own physical realities and sped up our processes to such a staggering degree that we find ourselves floundering in the ocean of information that is our own making. We evolved from the ocean, and now we must grapple with the fact that we are returning to it. See you all in Atlantis.
The idea that television, computers, and the rest are just tools that we use for better or worse isn't true. The way you react to them is what's important.
Technology is meant to serve as a tool for humans, not a replacement. We create our mediums but remain powerless under their influence on a social and individual scale because we allow their power to overrule our own. With the written word, the tribal man was lost to the literate man. With electric media, the literate man was swallowed up back into the tribal world where role precedes over job and artist is just another man. The all-at-onceness of electric media in the age of information led to the age of anxiety, as a literate culture was forced to grapple with everything systematically after the assembly line had been the method for so long. Culture now is in its late stages, rotten at the roots, but pollen hangs in the air, ready to strike and find new ground. People are struggling with social issues, global politics are in a ridiculous frenzy, and everyone is trying in vain to be an individual distinct from one another, like A from B, in a time where A and B are a part of Z and T just as much as they are part of the alphabet itself. AI is just one new medium we can use to solve problems. Like a mouse in a maze, quantum will show the mouse every possible way through, so the mouse will know the best way immediately. AI is an immersive, life-altering medium, but every medium before it and after it are just so. In McLuhan's book, The Global Village, he introduces the tetrad structure. This model examines the effects of any technology or medium on society. Each question is simultaneous. What does the medium enhance? What does the medium make obsolete? What does the medium retrieve that was previously obsolesced? What does the medium reverse or flip into when pushed to extremes? The effects are grouped as figure, which is enhancement and retrieval, and ground, which is obsolescence and reversal, which reflect McLuhan's emphasis on interplay between what is foregrounded and what recedes into the background. Here is AI when applied to this framework. AI amplifies our ability to process, analyze, and interpret vast amounts of data. It increases efficiency and speed on a wide range of uses. AI makes traditional methods of data analysis, manual content creation, and certain forms of human labor less relevant. AI retrieves the human desire for personalized, tailored experiences, echoing pre-industrial artisanal approaches where services and products were customized. It is pattern recognition. When taken to its limits, AI's ubiquity can lead to over-reliance on technology, potentially eroding human critical thinking, creativity, and interpersonal connections. Extreme automation may result in a culture of dependency, dehumanization of decision-making, and the prioritization of efficiency over ethics. Enter a concept adjacent to McLuhan's tetrad structure. Ghost in the machine, human in the loop. The ghost in the machine is a phrase coined by philosopher Gilbert Ryle in his 1949 book, The Concept of Mind. Ryle used it to criticize the Cartesian dualist view that the mind is a non-physical entity inhabiting and controlling a physical body, a ghost, residing in a machine. Ryle argued that this conception was a category mistake, misleadingly separating mental processes from physical actions. In terms of technology, however, the ghost in the machine refers to the elusive, sometimes inexplicable spark of consciousness or agency that seems to animate otherwise mechanical systems. It is common in many cultures to view technology and electricity as magic, or to conclude that objects may be possessed with spirits. The human in the loop refers to systems in which human judgment, intervention, or oversight is essential as a component of operation. The convergence of these two ideas is as integral as push and pull of light and darkness, night and day, life and death. As we build machines to think, the boundaries between ghost and machine are increasingly blurred. Ghosts in human history, mythology, and psychology haunt us in every aspect of our lives. Humans are not defined by who they believe they are, but what they believe they are not. The horde of souls, our ancestors and strangers, haunt us from beyond. As we navigate an increasingly metaphysical world, it is critical to consider where the human mind and body begin and end. If you don't already, it's time to start believing in ghosts. The truth is a mirage. It can never exist. Like a cloud, it appears to be a fuzzy white piece of fabric to bounce off of and sleep in and play on, but it is only made of water particles. There's always an agenda behind a piece of media. There's always a context behind a thought. There's always a reaction to consider behind a conversation contribution. Nothing is independent of another, so truth as a human concept is impossible. That being said, we must create our truth, what we believe to be real, as nothing is as real as what we believe to be true. McLuhan's work is more relevant now than it ever has been. Our media has become just as essential to understand as the oxygen we breathe. Once we understand how media massages us, forms our truths and realities, and how it integrates into societal frameworks, we can better use our mediums. AI is just one of them, and it happens to be the most explosive in our increasingly imploding media landscape. Interact with it. Use it. Do not let your heart turn into a machine. Only let it extend your central nervous system to the point where you can still recognize the end of your nose. This is my advice to you as we part ways. Share your voice. Be authentic. Learn your truth. Create. Be open. Listen first. Find the system among the fragments. Connect. Go forth into the world on your own 2 feet. And always log on near a window. Immerse. We will be aware. We will understand. We will do things that humans are meant to do. Thank you for watching.
We are re-entering the old tribal world, but this time we're going to go through the tribal dance and the tribal dream wide awake.
Are you living in today's world?
The future of the future is the present.
There are detracting voices who cry out, the stars are so big, the earth is so small. Stay as you are. But can we afford to?
And now, a word from our sponsor.